Matinyarare, Ramaphosa's Palapala judgment has implications on Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 of Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, but he says the consequences are worse, and I'll be taking you through his literature on how he has actually postulated this. And I seem to agree with some of the presentation that he made. Greetings and welcome to your lovely channel, the Hlonipani Global News. If you're watching us for the first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. I hope the sound is good. Please do advise me when it's not, and also take note that there is rain here on our studio. We don't have don't have the ceiling as yet, so you hear a lot of sound from the rain. So this is how actually Rutendo Matinyarare has made his presentation. He says there are some very interesting similarities between the judgment made by the Constitutional Court of South Africa in the Ramaphosa impeachment case and Constitutional Amendment Bill 3 in Zimbabwe. According to Chief Justice Mandi Samaya in South Africa, the vote by the Parliament of South Africa to stop the impeachment committee from reviewing the independent Section 89 committee report on Palapala was unconstitutional. The reason being that Parliament's vote not to refer the report to the impeachment committee was irrational and failed to hold the president, the executive, accountable. The judge went on to say that South Africa's parliamentary rule 129I, which was used to conduct the vote that prevented Parliament from referring the report to the impeachment committee, was itself unconstitutional. Zimbabwe is faced with a more or less similar case where, one, our president failed to uphold the constitution and instead sought to abuse it by, number one, getting in cabinet in his presence to initiate and prepare a constitutional amendment bill to amend the constitution in order to extend his term limit from 5 years to 7 years without a referendum. This is contrary to the Constitution because it does not give the President or the Cabinet authority to initiate and prepare a bill to amend the Constitution. The President is only entitled to assent to a bill and sign it into law. So we have already, remember, war veterans taking Emerson Mnangagwa to the court by just convening that cabinet meeting, which approved, with minutes, that approved the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 of 2026. By so doing, the president violated the Constitution because him and the executive should not be involved in the activities that will actually tamper with the Constitution. The president is sworn into the office to uphold the Constitution of the land. And Mnangagwa has violated the Constitution of Zimbabwe in numerous ways. That's why I stand to agree with what Rutendo Matinyarare has said. He continued to say, additionally, by the president making himself a party to the initiation and preparation of a bill to change the constitution so that his term in office can be extended, and by seeking Parliament, which is also set to receive a term extension, to be the arbiter of both their fates. This constitutes a conflict of interest and blurs the lines of separation of powers in of Section 32E of the Constitution, as both the President and Parliament are colluding to change the Constitution for their collective benefit, despite Parliament being the institution meant to exercise oversight over the President. Moreover, Parliament and the President have no authority from the people through a petition, memorandum, or referendum to amend the Constitution. This conflict of interest contradicts the powers and authority that we have given Parliament to uphold the Constitution and to oversee whether the President adheres to it. 3. His government security organs have jailed, tortured, abducted, threatened, and burnt the properties of those opposed to the bill, while the President, Cabinet, and Parliament failed to take reasonable steps to condemn, stop, and prevent the human rights violations taking place. This again is a violation of the Constitution's Bill of Rights, as well as non-abrogation and non-derogation human rights protections. Contrary to the Constitution, peremptory human rights principles and the ICCPR treaty signed by our government. Parliament committees conducting community consultations denied those opposed to the bill the microphone so that they could not express their opposition to the amendment. This is unconstitutional. And this was actually said also by a state institution, the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission. That makes things worse also. For Emerson Mnangagwa. It is clear that the notion of Parliament voting for changes to the Constitution that alters the institution's own powers and mandate without a referendum is unconstitutional and represents a serious conflict of interest. So surely the South African Constitutional Court's decision that parliamentary rules cannot be used to prevent Parliament from holding the President accountable is highly relevant in the Constitutional Amendment Bill 3 context. That as this amendment bill blurs lines between oversight, public accountability, and separation of powers. Moreover, more importantly, by the presidency, Cabinet, and Parliament failing to project human rights during Constitutional Amendment 3 process, all arms of the state are implicated as having collided to contravene Chapter 4 of the Constitution and failing to uphold the Constitution. Someone says, Tinashe Chikumbira responded with a lengthy actual response. He says, the comparison between the Palapala judgment and CA3 is constitutionally weak because the two matters concern entirely different legal questions. The South African case dealt with Parliament's constitutional oversight obligations during an impeachment process. CA3, on the other hand, concerns constitutional amendment procedures expressly provide for within Zimbabwe's constitution. In Zimbabwe, constitutional amendments are introduced through Parliament, debated publicly, subjected to committee processes, and voted on according to constitutional thresholds. The Constitution itself provides the amendment framework being followed. The claim that Cabinet and the Executive cannot initiate constitutional amendments is also highly contestable. In constitutional democracies, governments routinely sponsor bills, including constitutional amendments, through parliamentary legislative processes. What ultimately matters is whether Parliament follows constitutional procedures and secures the required majority. Equally important, critics continue conflating term limits with term length. Section 912, which imposes the two-term limit, remains untouchable. Much of the alarmism depends on treating two distinct constitutional concepts as if they are the same, and Rutendo responded to that. He says, I don't know if yours is an issue of not being able to read, understand, and apply, but both Palapala and CAP3 deal with: one, president failing to uphold the constitution, and two, parliaments failing to undertake their constitutional mandate to hold the presidents to account when they don't uphold the constitution. Three, importance of separation of powers for parliament to be able to hold presidents to account. The unconstitutionality of processes that undermine the objectives and intent of the constitution. I think I must also underscore that Mnangagwa by far has violated the constitution of Zimbabwe in numerous cases. The fact that he participated in the process that mutilates the constitution, he is not supposed to participate in that process, and including also executive members, because the president saw an oath to uphold and protect the constitution, of which he has failed in that regard. He has been involved. Similarly, the parliament also. That is why when you are changing the constitution, and especially the sections that touches the president, a referendum is actually kicks in. A referendum, it will be the people. So even when the referendum is won by Mnangagwa, then the parliament can deal with an instruction coming from the people and say the people have instructed us to do so. It's not us who were elected by people deciding to turn against the people, but it is the very same people that have elected us to initiate the process. So in the context of Zimbabwe, people have not said anything. If there is anything, people are isolated by the people who were deployed to the parliament and also to the executive by the very same people. People are undermined in the process when it comes to consultation processes, when it comes to even decision making. The decision is made by people who were deployed by people, but without the consent of the people. That is where the issue is. And Emmerson Tambutso Mnangagwa definitely, when measured by a reasonable constitutional court, would be found wanting in these areas. But we know that that constitutional court is captured. As such, it cannot arrive at a sane decision. But the sane constitutional court, I think what has been depicted by Rutendo Matinyarare, Mnangagwa may be found wanting in all accounts. Thank you very much for watching us. If you are watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. You can financially support this channel by pressing the join button and be part of our members who are the heartbeat of this channel. You can equally do so by pressing the thanks button and send us stars. Okanqubu Mhlabane is signing off. Let me love and leave you. Let's meet on the other side of the live broadcast as I give you more.